Welcome to the Unscripted
Welcome to the Unscripted Talk. Hi.
Welcome to the Unscripted Talk with Adegbola.
Once again, welcome to another fabulous episode of the Unscripted Talk with Adegbola. Yes. Welcome to another episode with me, another fabulous, another exciting, another episode with me. I remain your host as always. I remain your G. I remain your guy. I remain the main man. It's me today as always. How have you been? What's up with you guys? What's going on? I mean, it's a Friday. I'm really excited, man. You guys woke up as started. Woke up to Berry. Are you watching? What are you watching? Where are you watching from? What part of the world are you watching from? Are you supporting Nigeria? What country are you think is going to win it, man? Just keep the conversation going. I always want to discuss with you guys. I'm seeing there are a lot of countries around the world who are listening to this podcast. So no, why not just get to know everyone, man? That's it. So I said that I want to keep this podcast you can see H factor too, as short as as short as possible, so that it's not too long. Everybody can just listen and get on with their day. 1 hour. Who wants to listen to Dotun for 1 hour? Like who? Except you are Dotun's babe. Who Dotun's babe doesn't want to listen to him for 1 hour? So I don't know what you're talking about. So anyways, I want to leave this episode under 14 minutes so that it's just 40 minutes of your day. You don't. It's with me. I'm your guy. You don't have to go through that lot. So, 40 minutes, just have fun and I'm get on with it. Yes. And to today's episode, you see, before I even introduce who my guest is, it's really something I really want to discuss with you guys about. And a lot of people got across to me and they're like, Dotu, your podcast was lovely, but the American house you're putting in 80s is plenty. So when I told you, see, when you will stay in this kind of country for that long, how saying can come on, he used to come and I'm excited. I'm trying to to relax myself and so you guys can enjoy myself. Because I'm actually a very fun person. Am I enjoying me? You enjoying me? So I'm trying to really enjoy this and at the same time be very eloquent with you guys. So before I even go into the guest of today, who is Kayode Adegbola, I'm gonna tell you guys who is. Kayode is a wonderful person. I'm going to tell you a story about how I even got across to him to even come on my podcast. He said, I just keep Kayode up. And I was like, Kayode, I have a podcast that's basically just interviewing young guys around the world who are doing great things. And I would like to bring you on my podcast to discuss with my audience about politics and how the courage it took for a 27-year-old boy or man to come out and contest for politics. And he was like, sure now, I'm a Delo J, you're my boy. I'm joking, that's not how the conversation went. That is not how the conversation went. What's your problem, Don't speak English, Yoruba English. So that's not how the conversation went. We discussed and he was like, sure, and I got across to him and I brought him on. So the next few words plenty words you're gonna be hearing is from Kayode. And I think you guys are going to enjoy because Kayode is a very brilliant person. He's a very innovative person. He's contesting for the position of House of Assemblies in Ogun State. And, I think we had a wonderful conversation. And, towards the end was actually incredible because we actually stopped talking about politics and talked about him himself and what he's up to. So if you're a big fan of politics and you see yourself doing politics in 5-10 years, you should actually listen to this and enjoy. And, as always now, we're going to keep on doing the giveaways towards the end. So, peace out. Make sure you enjoy it. Let me know what you think. Thank you, Kayode, for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me, Dotun.
So, Kayode is a politician. He's going to be running for the position of House of Assembly in Yaay.
Yaay North 1 constituency.
Okay, in Ogun State. So we're just getting to know Kayode and know how the courage it took for a young person to come out in the midst of all and contest. Who is Kayode Adegbola?
Okay, Kayode Adegbola is a young man who trained as a lawyer, practiced law for a few years, has some experience in entrepreneurship, has some experience in public sector service, and is also politically active.
So you've done this in the span of how many years?
I was called to the bar in 2012. I practiced law actively until 2014, and then I did a bit of entrepreneurship. I founded a company called Legacy Serviced Offices, where we provide fully serviced offices to companies, both local and international. And I have a day job with the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund, where we do social impact lending at low interest rates to small and medium enterprises.
So when you win, are you still going to drop that job, or you're still going to be doing both of them hand in hand?
The law requires me to resign. I think it's 30 days before the election. So yeah, I won't be able to do both.
So how was growing up for you?
Growing up for me was a very fun time. I come from a small family of 4, so my parents and a younger sister.
Okay.
So we're a very close-knit family. My parents consider their children to be their best friends, and there was absolutely nothing that my parents didn't talk to us about growing up, and even now. So I definitely had a fun childhood. I went to primary school at All Saints Church School in Ibadan. I attended the Vale College for my secondary education. I did a foundation program at Queen Mary University of London, and I also went on to do my law degree there. Then I came back to Nigeria for law school.
Back to your high school, you said you went to the Vale College Ibadan. How was
indeed.
it going to the same school that your mother was the founder?
It was very interesting. There was certainly a lot of pressure. I was expected to be on my best behavior all the time.
Right.
There was very little room to be a teenager.
Exactly.
In the way that teenage boys typically are. But other than that, I think it was a good experience. I would definitely say I got perhaps the best secondary education that is available around there. So I'm glad that I got to go to the Vale College.
How old are you?
I'm 27.
You're 27. Wow. And so what led to politics at a very young age? What pushed you?
So to be very honest, I spent a lot of time while growing up around my grandparents on both sides. On both sides of my family, there's a very strong affinity for service to humanity.
Yes.
So my paternal grandfather was a bishop of the Methodist Church. My paternal grandmother was a teacher. She's the only grandparent I still have at the moment. She was a teacher. And on my mother's side, my grandfather was a lawyer, a senior advocate, and also a politician, while my grandmother on my mother's side was a judge, and she retired in the Court of Appeal. So in those 4 personalities, and because I spent a lot of time around my grandparents, and my grandfather was actively involved in politics, so I became interested in politics around them. That sort of formed my ideas and ideals and values politically. And in my grandfather's lifetime, I spent a lot of time around politicians. And that's how I became an Omo Agba, as a lot of people call me, because I have a good relationship and a good rapport with a lot of the very old generation politicians.
So for you guys that don't know, Kayode's maternal grandfather was Bola. So the story of person who ran for president was Bola. So I was just going through your Twitter, was it yesterday, and I saw School Intenso that you sponsored, and he had this quote on it that really got to me. And the quote reads, "The worst illiterate is the political illiterate. He hears nothing, he sees nothing, he takes no part in political life. He doesn't seem to know what the cost of living is, the price of beans, of flour, of rent, of medicine. All depends on his political decisions. He even prides himself on his political ignorance. He sticks out his chest and says he hates politics, Then he doesn't know the imbecile that from his political non-participation comes the prostitutes, the abandoned child, the robber, and worst of all, the corrupt officials." That's so deep. What does that mean?
Well, I think essentially what that quote means is that every member of society should be interested in politics, should be politically active, because politics is the basis upon which societies run. And being oblivious to politics means that you you do not care very much about how your life is run, how your life is governed. And like the quote says, political participation is what governs the market forces, is what governs the price of goods in the market. It's what governs regulation regulation that is not in favor of your business. And it even affects personal life in terms of many things, and even as deep as sexual orientation and sexual choices. So I think that what the central theme of that quote is that everybody should have an interest in politics and how their lives are governed.
So when did you know it was time for politics? Like, at what age and what time did you know that, okay, I think it's time to effect change?
Well, I have always known that I would be I've always been politically active. I've always known that I would run for election at some point. I actually joined what was then ACN in 2012 or so. I think I was 22 years old. And I have attended party meetings and contributed to the development of the party since then. I've also volunteered on many campaign teams in different states. I have volunteered in election petitions from the tribunal all the way to the Supreme Court. And so for me, it was just a matter of time in terms of when I would finally put myself up to run for office. The Not Too Young to Run bill, which has now been signed into law by the president, has made it possible for me to run at this time, because otherwise I wouldn't have qualified to run.
So if that bill wasn't passed, you wouldn't have been able to run for office?
No, not in 2019.
Wow. Did you ever feel the pressure to prove something to anyone, anybody elsewhere, because of the legacy your grandfather lived up to?
The truth of the matter is that my grandfather left very large shoes behind. Yeah. And I've always said to myself that if I can achieve half of what he did, I would be regarded as a successful man. The truth of the matter is that people like him don't come very frequently.
Yeah, that's true.
A lot of what he had were God-given talents. I certainly feel more a sense of responsibility than pressure, because the legacy he left behind is one that one has to be extremely careful with and extremely disciplined with. So I certainly would say I feel more a sense of responsibility than pressure.
Now talking about your grandfather, what values do you think you personally inherited from him? Like, when did you meet him?
Oh yes, I met him. I spent quite a lot of time with him.
Oh wow!
In fact, the day he was murdered, I went to his house my mother took us to his house to spend some time with him. And that was when we discovered that he had been shot.
So how did that feel as a kid? Like, as a kid, what the whole story of your grandfather being murdered, how was that for you growing up?
It was quite a horrible experience. Even more so to watch my grandmother and my mother go through the heartbreak that they did. I found myself at a young age, I was 11 at the time he was murdered, but I found myself at a young age having to be strong for my mother, my grandmother, my aunts, and my uncles. So it sort of made me grow up quickly. It's not something that you ever really get over, but there's some comfort in the fact that even in death, his voice is still very strong. His name is still very strong, and he left a legacy through the lives of the people that he touched.
Since you met him and you spent about 4 or 5 reasonable years with him, what values do you think you learned from him?
I think I would highlight 2.
Okay.
The first being honesty. He was never afraid to speak his mind, nor did he suffer fools gladly. Typically, politicians are expected to be diplomatic.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not sure he was very diplomatic, but you would always know where he stood, because he would never lie or pretend. So that's one thing I imbibed from him. The other thing is certainly his charisma, if I do say so myself.
Yes. Yeah, and I think he was very eloquent. I mean,
He was indeed.
if you went through the whole system of Vale College, for those of us who went to Vale College, those were some values that we were instilled upon. This question has always been on my mind, and I just wanted to ask you, if at the age of 27, people before you, have they ever looked down on you and be like, like you're a small boy, that your own turn will come? Did you ever get that reception?
I think I'll probably say I've gotten it a few times, not as frequently as one would expect. It does help that I don't look my age. I also do not necessarily act my age.
I didn't even know you were 27. I thought you were. My mind, I was thinking probably 31. That's what I was thinking about.
Yeah, so I certainly do have that advantage.
Yeah.
But I think, and I'll say so with a sense of modesty, that these things are a lot more than just age, and things like intellectual substance come into play. I haven't. I think my age has not been as much of a problem for me as one would expect.
Okay. So, with the whole bill of not too young to run, I saw that you were at the signing of the bill.
Yes, I was.
So, how do you feel the bill would impact the younger generation in Nigeria? And do you think it's a step closer to a better and corrupt-free Nigeria?
It's definitely a step in the right direction. I would say that there's still a long way to go in terms of reforms and in terms of party finance. Because the truth of the matter is, if younger people are qualified to run, or if people are qualified to run at a younger age, it's going to be very difficult for most of us to actually participate with the amount of money politics that we play these days. So there's still going to have to be a lot of reforms in the area of party financing or election financing. I think there should also be reforms in terms of party membership and party decision making. Okay. Because otherwise it'll be very, very difficult for this bill to actually come to fruition practically.
Because if you look at it, a lot of these young guys cannot personally finance their campaign, right?
It's very tough.
So how are you financing your campaign now? Are you getting donations? Are you trying to what's the step for you?
Well, I certainly am getting donations, mostly from family and friends, people who I'm close to and who believe in my vision. Yeah. And don't expect that, and those people don't expect that donating to my campaign should yield them returns.
Exactly.
But also beyond that, I also make it clear to the electorate that I'm not a money bag. Mm-hmm. I certainly can't be with a relatively young career. Okay. However, I focus essentially on the dividends of democracy and what I hope to achieve while in office that will actually improve the lives of people, as opposed to handouts.
Are there laws within the Nigerian democracy that limits how much someone can spend and where the money is coming from during elections?
Not as much in terms of where the money is coming from, but there are regulations about campaign spending.
So for people who don't know, can you just tell us what position you'll be running for and under what party you'll be running?
Okay, so I'm a member of All Progressives Congress, APC, and I am running for the Ogun State House of Assembly to represent Yaay North Constituency 1, which is also called Ishokon State Constituency.
Okay, and why APC? That's one question.
Well, so for me, it helps. It certainly helps that APC is a progressive party. Okay. And is an offshoot of the Alliance for Democracy, from AD to Action Congress to Action Congress of Nigeria, the ACN, and then now the merger of parties, which became APC. Yeah. It's the party that is closest to my ideals. Mm-hmm. It's the party that I'm most comfortable in. It's the party that I feel like my voice will be heard best. And it's also the party in which I believe the democratic ideals will be adhered to.
So, with the younger generation of people who are, for instance, you're 27 now, people who are 23, 22, 21, 20, who are just, getting to vote in this election, and they're not really interested in politics, because I've spoken to a lot of people. They have no interest whatsoever with politics. What advice do you have for us who are not interested in politics?
I'll use just one illustration. You graduate in 2-3 years, won't you?
2 years.
Okay, so if you graduate in 2 years' time and you intend to move to Nigeria, the current unemployment rate is about 43%. So that is an example of how difficult it is to get a job in the first place. The minimum wage in Nigeria, I believe, is about 18,500 naira. If you convert that to dollars, that's about $50-$60.
Yeah, roughly.
And that's the minimum wage. Now, without participating in politics, you are not even invited to the table where decisions are made. You don't have the opportunity to use what you've gotten from your education to make a difference. And so essentially the point I'm trying to make from that is that our future is in our hands. A lot of people say that young people are the leaders of tomorrow, but the truth is we have to begin today.
Right now there's a lot of people who are glued to one political party, in the sense that they have loyalty to the party instead of the candidates themselves. What do you have to say about that?
Well, I mean, I certainly can't begrudge people for what they believe in.
Yeah.
I am a staunch and loyal APC member.
Okay.
Some people feel differently, and people are entitled to the way they feel. But certainly that's the beauty of democracy.
So do you think if the values of APC changes tomorrow and that doesn't stand for what you believe in, would you leave?
I think it would depend on what exactly the issues are.
Okay.
I think it would depend on what the issues are, but I strongly believe that you can't make any change from outside the room. So even if there are things that I don't agree with, I'll certainly make my voice heard, and then whatever results from that will determine my action. I certainly can't be preemptive.
How well have the people of the state of Ogun State and your constituency accepted you and your values?
So far, so good. I believe that I've been very warmly received. I don't have any difficulty relating with the people of my constituency. I didn't just join the party now that I'm interested in running for office. I didn't just begin to help people both on an individual and an institutional level because I want to run for office. So there's no pretense about my intention and ambition. And so, in fact, I believe that I have been warmly welcomed to the race, and I have quite strong support.
Okay, can you let us know what stage in the race are you now? Have they done the primaries?
No, so the primary election is not until September.
Okay.
What we typically call this stage in political speak is the consultation stage, which is where you speak to different groups, both within and outside of the political structure, where you sort of make your voice heard, where you let them know what you intend to do in office, and all of those sort of fine details. And then we sort of consolidate on that in the run-up to the primaries. In this case, the primaries are in September, while the elections will be in March 2019.
So what values so a lot of young guys don't know the role of what you're contesting for. So you're a lawmaker, right?
Yes.
So what change can you effect? Because you just believe as soon as you're in politics, you should break mountains and you should start answering their questions. What power do you have, and what are changes that you can bring to the people of your constituency?
The truth is that the expectations are very high, often higher than what the elected politician is actually able to deliver.
Exactly.
So what I'm trying to do during this period is to also allow people and help people to actually understand the role of a lawmaker in the first place, and then just sort of give them an idea of what exactly I hope to do when I do get into office. And for me, it's just around a few things.
Okay.
First of all is to look at the existing laws within the states and have an idea of the ones that need to be updated to modern standards. Because of my law background, I'll certainly be very interested in the administration of criminal justice and the rights of humans, but also in particular the rights of the girl child, the woman, and the child. Beyond that, because of my experience in social impact lending through the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund, I'll also be interested in economic empowerment using such social impact programs. And then I'll also be interested in making laws that harness the proximity of Ogun State to Lagos that can improve economic activity, industrialization, and create job opportunities for our people.
Did you have the option of where to contest in? So, for instance, your mom is from Osun State, right?
Yeah.
And your dad is from Ogun State. So, if another person was in your shoes, could the person decide to run in Osun State rather than in Ogun State?
Well, I've certainly seen situations in which people have run where their mother is from, or where their grandmother was from, or where they live, because the Nigerian Constitution actually does not preclude you from running anywhere as long as you're in Nigeria. You can run anywhere in Nigeria.
Do you think that's a good thing?
It certainly is a good thing. I mean, I certainly could have considered running in Oyo State where I grew up, or running in Lagos where I actively live at the moment. But for me, I felt that Ogun State, and particularly my constituency, which is where my grandfather grew up and which is where he walked barefooted to Abeokuta to get an education.
So you just
I felt that. I'm sorry?
I said you just felt like that was the right thing to do.
Well, in fact, not as much the right thing, but I felt that that's where my experience and expertise could deliver the greatest impact.
Oh, yeah.
And the truth of the matter is I also have a strong sense of belonging there that I'm not sure I would get elsewhere.
So with the whole new experience, because running for an election, this is your first time and it's new to you, how has the experience been like? Like explaining to someone who hasn't been in the whole circle. For myself, I'm also a very interested person in politics. But, for younger guys like myself who would not be there in the next probably 8-7 years, what's it like?
Good question. I've certainly found it to be a lot different from when I assisted people in their own campaigns, because in this case, it's actually my own hat in the ring. But it's actually been rather interesting, rather enjoyable. Interacting with people has been a lot of fun, and just sort of understanding what their needs are, how they live, what they do, and how one can impact on their lives if one does get the opportunity. So I would definitely say it involves a lot of patience. And it definitely also involves coming out of your comfort zone. But I wouldn't rather do it another way.
With your campaign, how was it for you setting up your campaign team?
My core team are young people. Okay. So I say that 80% of them are under 35. Okay. But also there's quite a number of women among them because women are important to me. Gender equality is one of the things that I hold dear. And in fact, I have 7 wards within my constituency. And so I have a coordinator for each ward. Out of the 7 coordinators I have, 5 are women. And although that's relatively small in the scale of things, but I would say that's one of my early achievements. And that's one of the things that I would like to keep as I go along in politics. Gender equality.
The whole gender equality topic, that's a very big issue in the country right now. And a lot of people don't believe ladies should have equal right as men. So what's just your take on actually making Nigeria a better a better place for women? Like, what actions would you take to actually make that happen?
Well, I think one of the things that my personal approach would be to sensitize people more, to let people understand that that being a woman is not being the weaker sex.
Yeah.
If anything, I think that women are even stronger than us men. So for me, it's to just sort of increase sensitization around the rights of women, and also to show that in my own life and in my own politics, and hope that the successes that I record by working very closely with women make it an example for other people to follow.
So, another question that just bothers me is godfathering in politics. It's been a very big issue right now in the Nigerian government in general. What's your take on people who stand as godfathers to people who want to contest for elections and just believe that they run the country? What's your take on that?
Well, I'm a little liberal in that sense, in that I believe in mentorship, and I think that there's a lot to be gained from our leaders. However, what I don't agree with is imposition and the feeling that because you are sort of under somebody's guidance, you can't have an independent or can't make independent decisions. So I don't have a problem with a godfather in the liberal sense, but I don't believe in godfathers lording it over people.
Done with these questions about politics and stuff. Let's get to know Kayode Adegbola outside the political world. What do you do for fun?
Interesting question. I spend quite a lot of time talking with my friends. I don't watch TV very much, so
you don't watch TV.
No, very,
is
very,
is that
very,
because
very,
of the politics?
infrequently.
Is that because of the politics?
No, I think it's just literally my attention span. So I enjoy spending time with my family and my friends. I enjoy art. I'm surrounded by art. I collect art. I spend a lot of time admiring and appreciating art in galleries.
Because I see that on your Twitter a lot. You're a big fan of art. So talking about art, what's the most precious art material that you possess?
I'm not allowed to say.
Okay, but you're just a big fan of it.
But I do pay my taxes.
Okay, let's keep that hidden. Okay, so do you listen to music?
Yes, I do.
So what types of music do you listen to?
I listen to a wide range of music. I listen to classical music. I listen to Fuji. I listen to Juju. I listen to Afrobeat in the pure sense. So Fela, Femi Kuti, Seun Kuti. I listen to Lagbaja. I also listen to a lot of our contemporary artists, so Whiskey, Davido, Techno, Tiwa Savage.
Okay.
So I listen to a wide range of music.
Okay, so you're a big fan of Afrobeats itself. Okay.
Yes, indeed.
So you read
music
books
is a good way to express oneself. One book that has quite helped me in my life's journey is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho.
Okay.
I recommend that everyone reads that. It sort of feels like a personal guide, and I think that there's a part in every chapter that applies to any and everyone.
Okay.
No matter what you do in life or where you are in life, you certainly find something that applies to or appeals to you.
So before I let you go, I just want to say congratulations on your engagement.
Thank you.
Yeah. So how long has that been?
We've actually only been engaged for a bit over a week.
Wow. Like, so you guys have been dating for how long?
About 5 years.
That one long ago. Okay. So now before I let you go, just like tell us when the election is, how people can get across to you, how people can get to know you, and when you get to know someone, what their beliefs are, their values are, and their intentions are.
Okay, so like I said earlier, the primaries are in September.
Okay.
At which point the party's flag bearers for all the different positions will be elected.
Yeah.
And then the main elections are in March and April of next year, or March of next year. My election is in March.
Okay.
So that's sort of the timeline. In terms of reaching me, you can reach me on Twitter. I'm very active on Twitter.
Okay, so what's
You
your
can
handle?
reach me on my Twitter handle is Kayode A, one word,
Okay.
and the same on Instagram. You can also reach me on Facebook with my name, Kayode Adegbola. I hadn't been very active on Facebook in the past few years, but I'm a lot more active on it these days.
Okay. Kayode, thank you very much for coming on and discussing with us, because I think a lot of
It's my
people
pleasure.
a lot
Thank
of
you for
people have
having me.
learned a lot about politics today.
Thank you so
Do you
much.
have just one word do you have to the younger generation coming up to just to encourage us? Anything you want to tell us?
I'll just say keep your eyes on the ball. Follow your dreams.
So thank you very much for coming in, and we wish you all the best in your election. Go get it.
Thank you very
God bless
much.
you.
Thank you.
All right.
I appreciate it. Take care.
As always, thank you guys very much for tuning in with Kayode and I this week. Hope you really had fun. Actually think I should be having like behind the scenes of how recordings and everything goes, so you guys know how fun this is, because I used to make a lot of tabons, I used to throw shots. I think you guys should actually listen to it. I will start that next weekend. In fact, I even think I should have it on my Instagram. I should actually have like a special episode on my Instagram every week, so you guys see the trouble it takes every single week to make this happen. Thank you guys very much once again for tuning in. You can always hit me up on my Instagram, .onscript, my Twitter, .onscript, my Snapchat is DOT_OYE. My email is unscriptedtalkwithade.ton@gmail.com. And to the giveaway this week, the giveaway magic word is choose wisely. So it's just about choosing wisely and making sure you make the most decisions, the best decision. So yeah, just keep me up on any platform and tell me you've chosen wisely, and you get the giveaway. Once again, thank you guys very much for tuning in, and I remain your host. Take it away.
Thank you for listening
to the Scripted Talk with Adedotu. Share and subscribe.
Make sure to check out our Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook pages, as well as subscribe to stay updated and tuned in with the Unscripted Talk with Adedotu.
Be sure to like us on Facebook at Unscripted Talk with Adedotu. Also on Instagram and Twitter. Peace.
My name is Kyler Joyce.
My name is Uluwafe Kemi Ocean Token.
My name is Oyindamola Omokwariola.
My name is Aziz Akiade. Thank you for listening.